Is a big recession in Europe ahead of us? Top CEOs are fearing the worst. War, drought and Covid have blighted prospects continent-wide. Europe has had steady economic growth over the past 20 years, fueled by zero or even negative interest rates. In 2020, however, everything started to collapse like a house of cards. As a result of the pandemic, the governments of all countries decided to shut down the economy, which in turn resulted in the breakdown of supply chains around the world and a wave or corporate malfunctions. In order to prevent a global recession, many central banks have decided to launch reprints on an unprecedented scale. Large reprinting, in turn, caused high inflation, which was additionally aggravated in Europe by the conflict in Ukraine. How are central banks fighting against high inflation today? They raise interest rates and tighten monetary policy, which is exactly the opposite of what was done in March 2020. The situation around the world is not very good today, but the situation in Europe is downright dramatic. Where does such a difference come from? Number 1. Energy. Contrary to the USA, Europe has to import oil and gas from the outside because it does not have sufficient amounts. The US has enough oil on its territory that it would not have to be imported from abroad. On my Twitter, I recently added an interesting fact that the US have more oil inside their borders than all the other proven reserves on Earth. You can of course follow me on Twitter for more interesting facts, link in the description below. The European Union, through its policy and the construction of Nord Stream 1 and Nord Stream 2, have become dependent on oil and natural gas supplies from Russia. Check out these graphics. Germany has so far imported nearly 66% of its natural gas and 34% of its crude oil from Russia. Since February 2022, the UE has imposed a number of sanction packages on Russia, including the energy industry. These sanctions caused tensions between the European Union and Russia, as Russia claims because of sanctions they cannot fix the failure of a turbine in the Nord Stream 1 pipeline. This doesn't seem like a legitimate reason to close a pipeline, says Ben McWilliams, an energy policy expert at Brussels. I'm as confident as I can be that this is Putin's latest move to manipulate gas prices and put pressure on Europe's energy systems. As if that was not enough, in recent days there was an attack on Nord Stream 1 which resulted in a gas leak. Regarding Nord Stream 2, Germany suspended certification of Nord Stream 2 on 22nd February 2022 in response to Russia's attack on Ukraine. However, according to Reuters, President Vladimir Putin on Friday denied Russia had anything to do with Europe's energy crisis, saying that if the European Union wanted more gas, it should lift sanctions, preventing the opening of the Nord Stream 2 pipeline. The second reason for a weakening Europe is the euro. The eurozone is heading for a sovereign debt crisis. The list of fiscally fragile countries includes Italy, with gross government debt at 152.6% of GDP, Greece 189.3% of GDP, Portugal 127%, Spain 117.7%, France 114.4%, Belgium 107.9%, and Cyprus 104.9%. So even though we have inflation around 9% in the Eurozone, ECB President Christine Lagarde cannot do much about it, because rising interest rates to level like the Fed did this year would result in the insolvency of such countries as Italy or Spain, which could eventually lead to the collapse of the Eurozone. As a result, the euro is depreciating significantly against other currencies, making imports from outside the euro area more and more expensive. Third reason is as follows. Egypt's Suez Canal Authority plans to raise the transit fees for ships passing the waterway by 15% at the start of 2023. More expensive import, you know what it means. In addition, there are very disrupting information from entrepreneurs from all over the Europe, like for example a shortage of CO2, carbon dioxide. A shortage of carbon dioxide is causing German drinks manufacturers to cut production and warned of bankruptcies. More and more of companies in the beverage industry that depend on the availability of CO2 are having to significantly reduce their production or stop it altogether. Holger Eichele, head of the German Brewers Association. Moreover, energy-dependent industries in the Eurozone are struggling with high prices and supply bottlenecks. Last month, energy prices were up 38% year-on-year, and annual inflation hit 9.1%, up from 8.9% in July. Consumers and governments are bracing for even more pressure on living standards during the winter months, when energy consumption will need to increase. All this is reflected in a drop in business and consumer confidence. This may be a long winter. Subscribe, like, and see you next time. Bye.